Picture a giraffe in your mind. See its towering height, its long, elegant neck, the slightly awkward, gangly way it strides across the savanna. It is an animal defined by its verticality, a living skyscraper browsing the tops of acacia trees. Now, hold that image, but give it a twist of prehistoric impossibility. Imagine a creature of similar height, one that could look a human in the eye from 15 feet up, but instead of a furry coat and ossicones, it has leathery skin and a colossal pair of wings. Wings that, when unfurled, would stretch 36 feet from tip to tip, the same span as a Cessna light aircraft. This is not a beast from mythology or a monster from a fever dream. This was Quetzalcoatlus northropi, a real breathing animal that commanded the skies of the Late Cretaceous period some 68 million years ago. It was one of the last and largest of the pterosaurs, the flying reptiles that shared a world with dinosaurs. But from the moment its first fossilized bones were unearthed in Texas in the 1970s, Quetzalcoatlus has been less of a settled fact and more of a profound, tantalizing puzzle. It ignited a scientific debate that has smoldered for decades, centered on a seemingly simple question: what did this giant actually do? Was it the fearsome predator of our collective imagination, a true king of the skies that cast a terrifying shadow before diving from on high to snatch up unsuspecting baby dinosaurs? Or was it something far less glamorous, a supersized version of a vulture, a colossal scavenger that used its immense size to bully other carnivores away from their kills, merely cleaning up the leftovers of its era? The truth, as modern science is beginning to reveal, might be more bizarre and more astonishing than either of those scenarios. The journey to decipher the lifestyle of Quetzalcoatlus is a masterclass in paleontological detective work, a story of how science can topple our most cherished and iconic images of the prehistoric world. For a long time, the dominant image of Quetzalcoatlus was one of pure, airborne terror. It was the ultimate aerial predator, an animal that fulfilled the role of a giant eagle or hawk, but scaled up to a size that beggars belief. In this popular and scientifically supported vision, the skies of the Late Cretaceous were its undisputed kingdom. Imagine it, a colossal shadow gliding silently over vast floodplains and fern-choked forests, its keen eyes scanning the world below. Its 36-foot wingspan wasn't just for travel, it was a platform for a superlative hunting machine. The anatomy seemed to tell a clear story. Its most prominent feature, a long, toothless, and sharply pointed beak, was interpreted as the perfect weapon. It was a biological lance, strong and stiff, ideal for plunging into the soft bodies of small to medium-sized prey. Paleontologists envisioned it operating with lethal precision. The creature's incredibly long and muscular neck, far from being a weakness, was seen as a key asset. Like a fisherman casting a line, Quetzalcoatlus could theoretically strike from a distance, its head darting out to snatch a struggling animal from the ground without ever having to land. This reconstruction painted a dramatic and compelling picture. In this scenario, Quetzalcoatlus would spend much of its time soaring on thermal updrafts, conserving energy as it circled high above the herds of dinosaurs below. It would be watching, waiting. Its prey wouldn't be the massive, armored adults like Ankylosaurus or the formidable Triceratops. Instead, its targets would be the vulnerable, the young, the small, the unwary. A juvenile hadrosaur that wandered too far from its mother, a fleet-footed ornithomimid caught in the open, or even other, smaller pterosaurs would be on the menu. The attack, when it came, would have been a spectacle of devastating speed and accuracy-controlled dive, a rush of air over enormous wings, culminating in a single fatal stab from its beak. It would then seize its prize and, with a few powerful beats of its wings, ascend back to the safety of the sky to consume its meal, far from the reach of terrestrial scavengers. This was Quetzalcoatlus, the king, the apex predator of the air, a tyrant whose reign was written in the sky. The image of the sky-born tyrant was magnificent, cinematic, and deeply satisfying to our sense of prehistoric grandeur. But science is a relentless engine of doubt, and as paleontologists looked closer, this crystal palace of a hypothesis began to show serious cracks. The problems weren't with the creature's ferocity, but with the cold, hard laws of physics and biology. Could a creature that big, that heavy, weighing an estimated 500 pounds truly operate like a gargantuan eagle? The first major hurdle was energy. Getting an animal the size of a small plane off the ground is a monumental task, It would have required an explosive burst of power, far more than simple flapping. And once airborne, the idea of it constantly patrolling for prey presented another metabolic nightmare. Sustained, active hunting flight would burn through calories at an unsustainable rate. Eagles and hawks are marvels of efficiency, but they operate on a scale orders of magnitude smaller. For Quetzalcoatlus, an unsuccessful hunt would have been a catastrophic waste of precious energy. Then there was the issue of maneuverability. The vast plank-like wings that made it a master of soaring also made it incredibly unagile. Trying to perform a high-speed precision dive to snatch a small, scurrying animal would be like trying to catch a fly with a surfboard. The immense wingspan would create enormous drag and inertia, making sharp turns or sudden adjustments nearly impossible. It was built more like a strategic bomber than a nimble fighter jet, great for covering long distances, but poorly suited for a dogfight. Furthermore, its slender, spear-like beak, while excellent for stabbing, lacked the sharp, curved hook seen in virtually all predatory birds. A hook is essential for gripping and tearing flesh, and for securing struggling prey during flight. Without it, Quetzalcoatlus might have been able to kill its victim, but holding onto it while taking off again would have been a clumsy, difficult affair. These nagging inconsistencies led to a new, less glamorous, but perhaps more practical hypothesis: Quetzalcoatlus, the giant scavenger. In this model, its size was not for predation, but for intimidation. It would soar efficiently over the landscape, not looking for living prey, but for the dead and dying. Upon spotting a carcass, perhaps a ceratopsian felled by a tyrannosaurus, it would land nearby. Its sheer size would be enough to frighten away most other carnivores, allowing it to claim the meal for itself. The long neck and beak suddenly made perfect sense in this context. They were not for aerial strikes, but for reaching deep inside the ribcage of a massive dinosaur, extracting viscera and meat that smaller scavengers couldn't reach. It would have been the cleanup crew of the Cretaceous, a walking, flying sanitation service of epic proportions, similar in ecological role, if not in appearance, to the vultures of today. This image was less thrilling, perhaps, but it fit the physical evidence far more neatly. For years, the debate toggled between the spectacular aerial hunter and the pragmatic giant scavenger. Both theories had their merits and their flaws. But then, a third, revolutionary idea emerged, championed by paleontologists like Mark Whitten and Darren Naish. This new interpretation didn't just tweak the old models, it shattered them completely, presenting an image of Quetzalcoatlus that was stranger and ultimately more compelling than anything that had come before. This was not a creature of the sky, nor a dedicated scavenger. This was Quetzalcoatlus, the terrestrial stalker. The breakthrough came from looking at the bones, not as components for flight, but as a skeleton for walking. Detailed analysis of pterosaur Trackways' fossilized footprints left by relatives of Quetzalcoatlus and a re-examination of its skeletal structure revealed a startling truth. On the ground, this creature was anything but clumsy or awkward. It was an exceptionally efficient quadruped, walking on its two hind feet and the folded-up knuckle-like joints of its powerful wings. Its forelimbs were robust and strong, perfectly capable of supporting its weight and propelling it forward. Far from being a grounded albatross waddling pathetically, it was a capable and possibly even swift walker. This insight flipped the entire ecological model on its head. Quetzalcoatlus, it turned out, likely spent the majority of its waking hours on the ground. Its immense height was not for spotting prey from the air, but for gaining a superior vantage point on land. Standing as tall as a giraffe, it strode through the fern prairies and open woodlands of the Late Cretaceous with a confident, stilt-like gait. Its long, flexible neck was not for aerial fishing, but was instead a terrestrial feeding tool of unparalleled design. It functioned like a crane, allowing the animal's head to pivot and dart down, plucking up any small creature that crossed its path. In this new, now widely accepted reconstruction, the world of Quetzalcoatlus comes into sharp, bizarre focus. It was an opportunistic generalist, a super-stork. It would walk deliberately across the plains, its head held high, scanning a wide radius for movement. Its prey would be anything it could swallow whole: lizards, small mammals, snakes, amphibians, and yes, any baby dinosaurs small enough to fit down its gullet. It wouldn't need to chase them, it would simply walk up, stoop its head down, and snatch its meal with its precise tweezer-like beak. Flight was still a crucial part of its life, but not for hunting. Flying was for commuting, for covering vast distances between feeding grounds, for finding a mate, or for making a quick escape from a threat like a fully grown T-Rex. It was a terrestrial predator that just happened to be able to fly. Our journey to understand Quetzalcoatlus has taken us from the heavens to the earth. We started with the cinematic image of an airborne king, a reptilian eagle ruling the Cretaceous skies. We then grounded it, imagining it as a colossal vulture, patiently waiting for death to provide a meal. Finally, we arrived at a picture that is stranger and more wonderful than either. A giraffe-sized, four-limbed stalker that prowled the plains like a prehistoric stork, using its incredible height to pluck its victims from the ground below. The story of Quetzalcoatlus is a powerful testament to the nature of scientific discovery. It shows that our first impressions, however compelling, are often incomplete. The truth is rarely as simple as a direct comparison to an animal we know today. Nature, through evolution, doesn't just scale things up, it finds novel, often bizarre, solutions to the challenges of life. Quetzalcoatlus wasn't a giant eagle or a giant vulture. It was a Quetzalcoatlus, a unique ecological experiment, a life form with a business model that has never been replicated on our planet. Learning that this giant likely spent most of its time walking doesn't diminish its majesty. In fact, it enhances it. It forces us to picture a world so alien, so rich with evolutionary creativity, that a creature like this was not just possible, but successful. The true wonder of Quetzalcoatlus lies not in fitting our preconceived notions of a king of the skies, but in defying them. It serves as a profound reminder that the history of life on Earth is a museum of lost marvels, and our understanding of it is a masterpiece that is perpetually unfinished. As we continue to unearth the past, we are left to wonder, how many other ancient giants are we still seeing through the wrong lens, waiting for one crucial discovery to reveal their true, astonishing nature?